We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Oh my God. Are we selling this market on tariffs again? Again. Oh, these algorithms are exhausting. Spent some time listening to Arthur Hayes right before I got on the air. Guys talking about indirectly a completely broken foreign exchange market. Meaning you can't hold fiat. You can't, as a person, as a corporation, you can't hold it. And you can't dump the fiat for anything else because if you do, all you're getting is more fiat. So where exactly is all the money going to go? Especially since you consider like the headlines right now are about DOGE. Like, oh, we're going to cut this cost and cut that cost. But when they're done with that, right, after they find all the fraud, what are they going to do? Well, what they're going to do is what the Chinese did. They're going to subsidize or strongly encourage or both with either tax breaks or direct payments, subsidize banks and anybody who wants to open a business in America to come do so either with cheap credit, no taxes, or both. That's how you get everything made in America. It's not going to happen by itself. You're going to have to provide government incentives, and Congress is going to spend money. And then, you're going to wake up one day and be like, okay, well, this is interesting that we're doing this. So I like the people in power a little bit better, maybe. Or maybe I like them a lot better. But is this changing the fate of the dollar? No. Is this changing the fate of fiat? No, not at all. Not at all. Not even a little, which is what the gold market is telling you, which is why gold is up only. Every dip is bought. We'll go over the chart, right? Now, back to crypto. So the long-term version of crypto is, it seems so clear to me that, Bitcoin just as kind of a digital alternative to fiat. It's like, oh my God, just give me anything. I don't care. What do you got out there? We're like, well, we got Bitcoin. Okay. Can I spend it? And not really. Do I want to spend it? And not really. The higher it goes, the less people want to spend it. You would think. All right. What else you got? You got any things for trading? You got any things that could also be money? Yeah, sure. We got all that in crypto. Problem is no one's interested. And the reason no one's interested is because most of the people in crypto are holding stuff from prior cycles, right? They're holding stuff that either didn't work out this cycle or they're basically bag holders. So everybody is either in memes, losing their shirt, trying to become a millionaire, or the people who care about crypto are holding a bag, and the only people who are making money is the people who hold Bitcoin, which is essentially a Max Payne scenario. Meanwhile, algos continue to sell crypto on complete BS news, driving selling into big cryptos that's being absorbed by Fidelity and BlackRock, right? And I'm getting more and more convinced every day that goes by that even though BlackRock created the Bitcoin ETF, that BlackRock being able to hoover up the best money in the world at the expense of the rest of the crypto market. Don't you notice this? Like Bitcoin holds and everything else like melts down. Now, I think that's going to change when the first Web3 announcement comes out from the administration. But in the meantime, it's just painful to watch BlackRock hold up Bitcoin while everything else goes to zero, right? Including the underperformance of Ethereum, which is getting extremely painful to the point where it could actually end. Or so we hope, right? I actually think it's going to end because the next time Ethereum goes down, if Ethereum doesn't go down and break, then all these shorts are going to have to cover. Is that today's trade? No. But that will be a trade. And unfortunately, if your bags are wasted, the person you need to be talking to right now is your accountant, right? In other words, if you believe in a coin, blah, 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 the person who you need to say this to is your accountant. Call your accountant and say, okay, this is my bag, coin 1. Accountant goes, well, you have, I don't know, a 70% loss. And the accountant will go, well, what do you think of keeping this? Like, what's your market view on this? Because you know that accountant's going to be like, ooh, give me that tax loss, right? You need to talk to them. They'll tell you what to do with your bag. Now, in the meantime, on the flip side, if you have capital to commit, I don't know, they just continue to offer this market to people at ridiculously low prices in an inadvertent attempt. The byproduct of how crappy this market is that you start giving up. You start giving up. And one of the reasons I think that people are starting to get really frustrated is if you go through the news, crypto is not in the news anymore, right? The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve was in the news every fucking day, every day, XRP every day, Solana every day, you know what I'm saying? Every day. Now, Elon's hogging up the news, right? The news is about everything that they're doing up on, up in the government in Washington. And that's nice, right? I'm glad, they're on top of it. The news flow is great. I talked about yesterday on the podcast that, Edward Snowden being pardoned is a game changer for both the Orange Man and crypto. So here, you want to hear some good news? Let me give you some good news. So for those of you who don't know, Edward Snowden was essentially a analyst for the National Security Agency, which in the United States is the most secretive entity that there is, that we know about. Okay. So the intelligence community has a function, but they have a high profile building, logos, and things like that. The National Security Agency, you don't see skyscrapers. You don't see anything like that. They are like very shadow oriented. Like literally their guys operate out of private houses, like in disguise. Okay. So Snowden's working for the NSA in this like large underground, super secret thing. He discovers that, I don't know, your phone's bugged, stuff that is like boring now. It's like, oh yeah, my phone's bugged. But he found all this out. His solution was to get a payment in Bitcoin and take a whole bunch of information that he should have not released. And he released it, right? And then everybody tried to hunt him down. And he wound up having to go to Russia. And, our guys, I think, are still after him over there. But he had to get Russian citizenship because he was afraid that, they could separate his family if the Russians ever kicked him out, right? So this guy lived in exile. I've seen him speak multiple times at crypto conferences. By the way, he's a big critic of Bitcoin for not having a privacy layer. And he's also a signer on the Zcash white paper, privacy coin I'm a fan of, and I'm a big fan of privacy, as you know, with the, antivirus meme coin, etc. But the Orange Man decides that, Snowden was right, because he was. I mean, we've known that for at least 5 years. Right? Snowden was 100% right. I don't know if he was 100% right to leak classified information, but that's what he did. So whatever. Okay. He was right about everything. And the Orange Man gives him a pardon. Now, the Orange Man called up his adversaries, all these clowns that want to like not vote for RFK for health secretary, who's going to turn around and dismantle pharmaceutical and food companies. Tulsi Gabbard, who is most likely going to lay off half the intelligence community or more. And the guy from the FBI, who's going to go through that place, lay off 2/3 of the people and find out every dirty secret that they had. Okay. Now, obviously, I don't know. Let's call them the powers that be. Sometimes they get called the deep state. The powers that be, all the not so nice people behind the scenes. So here's what the Orange Man did. It's like, okay, I'm going to pardon Edward Snowden. Okay. And here's what you're going to do. You are going to let my people pass the confirmation process in the Congress or the Parliament. That's RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and this FBI guy. You're going to give me my people. And here's what I won't do to you. So I'll pardon Edward Snowden, but if you give me my people, I won't give him his security clearances back and hire him to go work with Tulsi. So he can just completely dismantle you in the worst way possible and expose you. Did you know that searches in the Washington, D.C. area for a criminal defense attorney are going like that? Right? So it's like, it's not a question of, are you in trouble if you've been working for Uncle Sugar? Question is, how much trouble are you in? And if Snowden ever went back to work for the government, forget about it. He would just take it all apart. So they're like, okay, we'll give you RFK, right? And Trump is still holding the Julian Assange card, right? Because he's like, hey, do you want me to pardon this guy and give him and give him security clearance? I can hire both. Then you're totally done. Because Julian Assange knew everything, absolutely everything. Economics, geopolitics, intelligence. I mean, he knew every bullshit game that they were playing. So we can pardon him and hire him, or we can just pardon him or whatever. So why don't you just give me what I want? Now, what does this have to do with crypto? Everything. This has everything to do with crypto, because once they come into play and once they start, like, essentially the subsidized borrowing of money, it's already started, right? Microsoft is all of a sudden willing to work with Cardano. Oh, how amazing, right? Microsoft wouldn't touch Bitcoin. Now it's like, oh, Cardano. Well, we got to get on Cardano. Who told them to do that? The orange man, right? So there are signs. They're not helping your bags because all the news is being hogged up by Elon, which admittedly is starting to make me a little bit irritated, right? This is all the attention that should be going into crypto and our memes are going into Elon and the DOGE meme. They're getting all the attention. But that said, once that's done, once they turn their attention to crypto, they're going to need growth. JP Morgan announced layoffs. Everyone's announcing layoffs. Everyone's like, you know what? We can do this. We can put a chatbot in the hands of somebody. We don't need all this management. We don't need all these expensive guys. We just don't, right? Wall Street does this every 10, 15 years, and they're going to do it again. They're just going to open the doors and let everybody go. It's happening in tech right now. They got rid of DEI. Why do you think they got rid of DEI? Not for hiring, so they can just lay people off. And this was happening. So not only were all the job numbers phony, but now layoffs are starting. And of course, that drives interest rates down eventually. Elon is already on top of that, trying to get interest rates down. Interest rates down, dollar down. And you know what, folks? I'm going to be honest with you. If that doesn't happen, if markets cannot adjust, there's only one thing that can adjust. That's crypto and gold massively higher. Like a banana singularity. How far away is that? I don't know. It's obviously not happening today. But the stage is set. They have to pump Web3. They have to create it. Because if they don't create it, all they're looking at is job shrinkage in all other areas of the economy, like finance and tech. Right? So if you lose 100,000 jobs in these sectors, how are you going to add the 100,000 jobs back and add another 100,000 jobs? Because keep in mind, nobody's gotten hired over the last couple of years unless they came in from another country. So it's like all roads lead to Web3. And the question is, can you get out of stuff that's never going to work, take the tax loss, and then get in something that does? We'll try and help you out with that. Okay. So that's like the mini fireside chat, which will probably be a new feature of the show. Zapatis, good morning. Gian, Miguel, Diogo, what's up? Taz Pinballs, Yav, Tyson, Roby, what's up? Mitchell, Victor, what's going on? Huber's Ranch, Crypto Scam, Brandon, Sam, hello. Sippy, Tyler Hall, Jelster, what's up? God, from France. Sam. All right, news. Let's go. Okay, here's our friends at Doomberg. Oh my God, more tariffs, sell everything. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Right, look, tariffs disturb the foreign exchange market. That's a fact. Tariffs create currency volatility. Now, if the fiat currency market is dead, the only thing there is to do is moon gold. And if you moon gold, Eventually, that means mooning Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of Web3. That's it. Now, the longer this goes on, the more they jerk everybody around, the more frustrated and depressed people get. Like, we're not making a bottom in like a climactic formation, although you can't rule that out with a full moon coming up. People sometimes act wacky. At the end of the day, this is wrong, right? The tariff situation is bad for fiat. Whatever's bad for fiat is good for crypto. Massively good for crypto. So one day, maybe very soon, like Bitcoin 150K, will be laughing at why in God's name anybody was selling off this in the current environment. It was like everybody selling off World War III last year. All right, so why is everyone in the meme coin casino? Rents exploded 25% under Biden. And if you're not in the United States, this was vertical. Like in Austin, Texas, you woke up one day and stuff was 40% higher. Now, some of that's being unwound, some not, right? Like prices, when they go up, they never go back down again. Really. I mean, some of this might, but it went absolutely vertical because nobody could afford to buy a house. Okay, so what happens when you have 4 years of hostile energy policy? Again, and this is a reminder about governments in general. Okay? Can governments do anything right in the economy? Most of the time, no. Most of the time, no. Like the forced lending subsidy thing, the Chinese did that, I don't know, 25 years ago. It worked great in the beginning, but then they didn't stop doing it. And it blew up in their face because investment turned into speculation, and then that blew up. Here we have just insane increases in energy prices. Look at this, home heating oil. Like the house I grew up in used to use home heating oil. And when oil went to 150, my father lost his mind. He was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Now it's happening. It's up 50% with oil stable. Like I said, I understand your bags are down, and I understand this is not a crypto specific slide, but how can you have this and then have people not turn to crypto? People looking at this going, well, this is BS, right? I'm not doing this anymore. This doesn't get unwound in a day. Maybe they can unwind this in 4 years, but in 4 years from now, we'll have some other problem. Food prices rose 24% under Biden. Most staples are up over 30%. I think that number is conservative. And egg prices have doubled, as you've heard. Okay, it's absurd. It's absurd. And the prices are not coming back down until they completely change supply chains. And in the meantime, the most important thing is anybody who was involved in this is never going to trust paper money again. I remember inflation from the 70s, like the bond market was freaked out about inflation for 15 years. Like, oh my God, the CPI number's coming. Is it going to come back? They freaked out about it for 15 years. No one who's ever been through this is ever going to go, yeah, we'll go back to the dollar. I love fiat. It's great. No, not happening. They said inflation is transitory. They said inflation is coming down, but your wages are rising, supposedly. Food prices, another record high, right? So you can dismantle the deep state, right? Or whatever they call it. But whatever the last regime was, that damage is done, right? Like you can fire them all, you can cut all the costs, but the damage is done. That's why the left is, content to quietly go off into the night. Now, if the damage is done, what is the answer? Right? Well, can we get food prices back down? I don't know. Well, we need a different form of money. We got to have a different form of money. I mean, you look at this, and this is what happened to food prices, and nobody got raises to keep up with this. Nobody got 40% raises, even if you did. If you lived in an area where stuff doubled, you're screwed. So is this about crypto? Oh, yeah, it is. Because it's what Arthur Hayes and Michael Saylor are talking about, which is that you just cannot do fiat anymore. I got a colleague who's saying this. Fiat is over. Forget about inflation. Forget about tariffs. Forget about all this stuff. All that is telling you is what you already know is that fiat is over. The only thing that is true is that it has not been traded yet. It doesn't matter until it does, right? We're getting to a point, again, with people selling off tariffs. I look at Doomberg this morning and the market down 2%, and I'm like, oh my God, get away from me with this propaganda nonsense. Algorithmic nonsense. Pentagon spends $32,000 to replace 25 coffee cups, but let's sell crypto. It's like do it like a fortune cookie, right? Congratulations, America. 12 months, you paid a record $1.1 trillion in interest. This is more than all spending on defense, health, income, security, and only Social Security spending is better, which they're going to have to pop the hood on eventually. And when people see what's going on with that, they're going to freak out. And they're going to open up Bitcoin IRAs, and they're going to just be like, oh my God. So we paid $1 trillion in debt last year. Thank you very much. Divide that by however many citizens, and that's the interest bill. And they're selling Bitcoin. JP Morgan begins layoff with more planned. Just going to open up the doors. You give one analyst or two analysts a chatbot. I have the same thing going on. Like, I do stuff. We make a thumbnail. It's like here's why everyone's going to just fly out the door, right? I can get a YouTube title, get a YouTube description, make a thumbnail, and put words and stuff on the thumbnail. I mean, the Eagle King, the producer, had to show me how to do this over a period of years. But, Google, Perplexity have made it to the point where you can just sit down, right? Make all this stuff, which used to require an SEO expert. When I started in crypto, you had an SEO expert who would just figure out titles of our articles so they'd show up on Google. We weren't even doing YouTube back then. Should have been. Okay. You had an SEO expert. Okay. We had them when I worked at another company. We had guys who just did that. We had guys who just did thumbnails. Just thumbnails. Like I had somebody, a good friend of mine, right? Do thumbnails, for, hundreds of dollars a month. Now I can do them myself. One of my analysts can make pictures of herself and me. I can make pictures of myself with just a title. I get the title, the description, and the thumbnail with my face on it, drop it into a program, put a Bitcoin logo on it, and I'm live. Or I'm doing a video or whatever. And then there's stuff that does video editing. Drop the video in, hit the button, it cuts it, puts the subtitles in. I'm off to the races. That was another person. I know YouTubers that were like, yeah, I got to hire somebody to draw my thumbnails. Forget about it. You don't need the thumbnail guy. You don't need the editor. You don't need the SEO guy. That's three guys that you don't need. So you can do the same job in less time with no people. That's what's going on right now. At a very simple level. It's not like we have some robot that does everyone's work. That's not here. That's BS. That's a scam. Right. But what is happening is human productivity has gotten to the point where you don't need departments of people anymore. You just don't. And if AI can generate reports, okay, or you have subordinates that are smart enough, either with the chatbot or without the chatbot, we don't need management anymore. You don't need any management. You need some kind of accountability, but you don't need managers anymore. You just don't. So, okay, AI is great. It's working. But people see it. Not because it's being replaced by a machine, just because you have so much productivity from the people that you have. Why do you think JP Morgan is like, okay, see you later? Now, of course, JP Morgan has another problem, which is the fact that it's just a bank. I mean, I cannot believe, like everyone's like, oh, I'm down on crypto. Oh, my bags. Tried to open a bank account lately? Like open a bank account, go to the bank. Like if you go to a bank to open a bank account, ironically, it takes an hour just to get it open. You can get it open online, But then there's more paperwork. You got to get a debit card. You got to finance. You got to fund it. They got to check your ID. They got to check everything who you are. It takes like 2 days to open a bank account. How long does it take to get in Phantom and get something going and then move it somewhere? I don't know. 20 minutes if you know what you're doing? Maybe. If you have an existing wallet open, you need to move money, it's like 5 minutes. Less than that. You got to get the contract address, double check it, and off it goes. The thing is, long Bitcoin, short the banks is happening, and we're not trading it. And we're dumping stuff because we're so frustrated and depressed. The Bitcoin standard is happening right in front of your eyes, but you can't be happy about it because your bags are down. And the only people who are making good are the people with Bitcoin. How long does that last? I don't know. I think max 30 days. It can happen as quickly as a week away. In other words, there is get out of stuff that's not working, but there's stuff that will work that I'm not selling. You know what I'm saying? Like if you had ETH and ETH's got one more puke in it, there's no point in selling ETH. None. You'd add to ETH at this point. The same thing with Solana. I was looking at Solana versus Bitcoin the other day. Don't let me forget to go over the chart. There's absolutely no way I'm selling Solana at these levels. No way. Like if they take it to 170 and they puke it in my face, fine. But Jamie's empire has cracked. The banking empire has cracked. DOGE is streamlining the government. That's great. The bad news is the U.S. government spent $600 billion in January, 29% increase over last year. Like, I don't even know how they slow us down. Elon's going to sleep in the office for 4 months, supposedly. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? Like, admirable. We'll find ways. We'll cut spending. The optics on it are great. The numbers are still horrible. Anybody who thinks that we don't need an alternative form of money is out of their mind. And gold's going to go to 4,000 and change or 5,000 and change everyone's mind. Gold's going Bitcoin in 2017. So just final tally for Biden era, like basic fraud. So the basic fraud is $1 trillion. That's just the basic fraud, not the hidden fraud. All Americans now will benefit from lower interest rates, credit cards, other loans as a result of DOGE. Well, Elon, that is great. Theoretically, that's awesome. You're a theoretical guy. You're a manufacturer. You're an engineer. But the market is like, no. Okay. Car payment delinquencies are at a 10-year high. They're exploding. Credit card and auto delinquencies are at an all-time high. They will never be able to get rates down fast enough to provide those people with release unless Trump says, the interest rate on this is going to be capped for 6 months, and that could have unintended consequences. So rates do need to go lower. They will go lower, but they're not going to go lower in time to save anybody in the short term. And again, no one is ever going to forget this. I'm not going to let my kid forget this. Part of this inflation nightmare wrecked me, right? I will never forget this. I'm basically in the camp that if you can figure out somehow, like if you don't have a lot of money, how you can get $1,000 or $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and stick it somewhere. Or if you're a bigger player, if you can get one full Bitcoin, you can be a whole coiner. You get one full Bitcoin along with anything else you get your hands on, like ETH or Solana or XRP. You can get at least that much Bitcoin. You will actually make it in whatever wacko world we all wind up living in. Right. So do rates need to go lower? Yeah. Are they going to go lower in time to save a lot of people? No. Oh, speaking of the deep state pushing back, right? Again, what is the case for crypto? So all over the news. Now, we would prefer government buys 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, strategic Bitcoin altcoin reserve. Donald Trump and his Baron Trump buys ski mask dog and, sends some to his girlfriend through a Phantom wallet. Like that's what we want. I know that's what we want, but that's not what we got. What we got is judges, for whatever reason, are trying to tell the administration that they can't do what they want to do. Right? It's like, oh, we need to look at the Treasury's books. As somebody goes to court, some judge in New York goes, no, you can't. It's all going to turn out very badly for these people who think that their activist mentality justifies them, not following the rules. You know what I'm saying? Like, if a judge can be impeached by Congress, guess what? They're going to get impeached, most likely. Or Trump will just ignore them. Now, I know that sounds good. And if you're a big Trump fan, you're like, yeah. But at the end of the day, that's total chaos, and it's not good for the currency, right? If the government is trying to protect the people, and there are people who can like block that or obfuscate it, and we're selling crypto off this. This is crazy. It's crazy, especially when you look at this news in totality. Okay, RFK Jr., right? My guy, the guy who invented the whole government and Bitcoin thing, is one step closer to getting in, and he's going to get in, or they're going to meet Edward Snowden and Julian Assange as their bosses. So you can report to Robert Kennedy or Edward Snowden. It's up to you. If you report to Robert Kennedy, you're fired. If you report to Edward Snowden, you're going to jail for 20 years or for the rest of your life. These guys are all going to get voted in. And I think RFK is the most important one for crypto, right? Because he was the original Bitcoin guy. And if Trump can get RFK through, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Okay. President Trump commends Elon. All right. We will list names of fraud and abuse. I'm going to read to you some of the names that hundreds of millions and even billions of dollars who have been given to. So again, the fraud is ridiculous. It's huge. Okay. And it makes great news, right? We're in the White House. Elon's here with his kid. Oh my God, look at all these people. Gotcha. Everybody in Washington, D.C.'s got to get a criminal attorney. But the printing press is still rolling, right? It's going to take, I don't know. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to fully turn this thing around. And when people figure that out, it's going to be like, oh, wow, Bitcoin's at 90 something K. It's like, 100,000 Bitcoin's a big deal. Yeah, 20,000 Bitcoin was a big deal. 50,000 was a big deal. 70,000 was a big deal. Okay, 100 is a much bigger psychological number. I get it. But again, congratulations, the American people paid $1 trillion in interest last year, excuse me. Trump and Musk have achieved more in 3.5 weeks than Ronald Reagan did in 8 years. So this is the good news, right? They are after it, right? Ronald Reagan was like, oh yeah, we're shrinking government. They actually didn't. They actually spent more on defense and other things and deregulated Wall Street. That's really what they did. They unleashed the economy from taxation and regulation. They didn't actually cut spending. They talked about less government, but it didn't translate into less spending. So Elon doing good. Is it going to be enough? Do we need a different form of money? Oh yeah. Is Elon doing everything he can? Yes, that's admirable, right? I mean, if he wasn't doing it, I don't know who would be doing it. I don't think Trump could do this by himself. You need a guy to sleep in the building and just go crazy and just cut everything. So if it wasn't Elon doing it, I don't know who'd be doing it. But we need a different form of money because every day they're basically telling you have an unsolvable problem. That's what they're telling you. It's like they're distracting you from the fact that the problem is unsolvable because they haven't gotten to what they call in America entitlements, which is Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, right? Basically healthcare and, basically income insurance for old people. That these bills are staggering. Social media company, which is currently owned by Elon, settles lawsuit with Trump for $10 million. Okay. So Trump was back in the day, Trump was deplatformed. He was sitting president, kicked off Twitter. It's just absolutely unbelievable. And who knows who forced that on Twitter or if they did at all. I'm sure they did. Right? I'm sure they did. I'm sure these guys did whatever they were told to do. And guess what? Those guys are both hiring criminal attorneys because they're going to get taken out to the woodshed. And also they will be back one day. Right? So we can't really solve the spending problem and all these bad actors. Yeah. Okay. It's like roaches. You can bring in an exterminator and wipe out the roaches. The roaches will eventually be back. Eventually. We need a different currency. Okay, Elon is telling people close to him that he will spend the next 4 months and they're going to cut up to $2 trillion out of the budget. And you know what? They might be right. They told me he was full of it. They actually might get it done. Okay, here is Tulsi Gabbard. I don't know, man. I don't know who in America who's ever read anything like a Tom Clancy novel or anything like that doesn't like Tulsi Gabbard, basically a woman who was a colonel in the army, who is now running the intelligence community, and her job is to drop the hammer, and they're going to hold Snowden and Assange over their head. So you can do what Tulsi says, or you can report to Snowden. Like everything in Washington is now, you can report to Snowden at the end of it. And that's eventually going to translate over into Web3 when they're done with this theater, which is what it is, right? Because people in crypto are upset. I don't blame you. People are like, hey guys, this is cool, but what about us? We elected you. Your campaign broke out at Bitcoin Nashville. Okay. Hopefully they get there. They have to, because all they're looking at is layoffs. They're looking at layoffs in the government, layoffs in the banks, and layoffs in tech. Right? It's just, that's the way it is. That could be the deep state's way of pushing back. Okay. You want to take us out to the woodshed in Washington? We're going to call, BlackRock is going to call everybody and say, reduce staff by 20%. That you don't think BlackRock has that kind of power? Oh yeah, they do. Oh yeah. Okay. You want to put pressure on us? All right, fine. We'll put we'll put everybody out of high paying jobs, right? Ridiculous. It's happening. It's happening right now. Some comedy. President Trump appoints RFKJ's daughter-in-law to an intelligence community position. Yes. There are a lot of strange appointments in Trump administration. I don't have all of them, right? If somebody got a religious position, I don't know if they deserve a religious position, but, Trump is about art of the deal. And Kennedy's like, you know what? I need jobs for my kids, my family, whatever. Trump's like, okay. That's the oldest, like, Godfather mafia thing in the book. Like, I need a job, and everybody I know needs a job. Done. Right? Robert Kennedy, by the way, is carrying $1 million in credit card debt, supposedly, from having to pay for his own protection. So I really hope everybody gets a job, and I hope, RFKJ figures out how to buy T-shirts or whatever else so people can, so he can get out of that. Spot Bitcoin ETFs, 50,000 Bitcoin. Okay. While miners have only mined 18,000 Bitcoin. So this is going to continue, right? This is the Bitcoin supply shock that no one cares about. Frankly, I think it's a crypto supply shock. The market cap of big cap cryptos compared to tech stocks, people are running into certain tech stocks. Like one company's up 18 days in a row. Everyone's running into gold. Everybody's running into everything except what they should be running into. It's just a supply shock. I mean, one day you're going to wake up and it's going to be like gold. Isn't going to be any. And some big player is going to come in to buy it. It's not going to be there. Matter of fact, the only reason why the government is not necessarily announcing the Bitcoin strategic reserve is because there isn't enough Bitcoin. They got to figure out, how are we going to get our hands on all this Bitcoin? How are we going to do this? I think it's through the ETF, but whatever. It's a supply shock. And I think there's a supply shock in all coins. Because again, if money comes out of tech stocks, or if new money just comes into the market, it's like, what am I going to do with my money? Why the hell do you think everyone's on Solana? This is the thing. Everyone says, oh, Solana's bad. Pump.fund is bad. No, Pump.fund needs to be policed. Pump.fund needs law enforcement. But the fact that everybody is on Pump.fund and all the institutions do nothing but buy this large cap crypto are telling you something. Like, I want to invest in something different. I'm not buying NVIDIA. The earnings release is in 10 days or 13 days. I'm not buying that shit. What am I buying? Something in crypto. Okay. But, what happens before anything awakens? You have to deal with the depression, right? And what's El Salvador's solution to depression? Just buy more. Just buy more, right? Now, again, make sure it's quality, or make sure it's either quality or it's something you believe in. Antivirus goes down, I'm buying more. That's it. That's it. Antivirus is doing good. They're having a big Twitter space tonight, big interview with a big Twitter influencer. Awesome. Hope it goes to the moon. If it doesn't go to the moon, I'm after it. That AI agent will speak, right? And you got to take advantage of every dip you can. You can't tell people it's the last dip because you don't know when the last dip is. That's not responsible analytics. But what you can tell people is one day, like gold, we'll go over the chart. One day it just goes up. It just goes up and up and up and up and up. Right? Again, we'll go over the gold chart. Bitcoin price, 94K as crypto retreats on CPI overshoot, blah, 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 blah. We need a new form of money. In the real world, if to break the rules, you get fired. Somehow we've let Jerome Powell break the law, yet he continues to yield enormous power. Cynthia Loomis says the buck stops here. Right? And this guy who follows me goes, yeah, right? Play around and find out. Okay? Exactly. Jerome Powell can sit there in office while they just take him apart. And I don't even know if they can go in there, but just the thought that they might, let's leave Jerome in there. Let him squirm in his seat. Because where do they find the Edward Snowden of finance? Where do they find a whistleblower who's willing to come through, save his job, and blow the whistle on these guys? That's coming too, right? You got to think about that. Somebody's going to come forward rather than getting busted, and they're going to rat everybody out inside these organizations. The Fed, Treasury, IRS, all of them. Okay? It's going to happen. And when it does, right, there's going to be a headline. It doesn't matter until it does. The facts are out there. The currency has to be debased. The currency has already been debased. It hasn't been done in the market yet, right? It hasn't been traded, and it doesn't matter until it does. BlackRock continues to relentlessly buy the big cap cryptos. That's because mutual funds know exactly what I know, and they're just going to allocate capital as we discussed yesterday. Everyone's got a 1% or a 0% allocation, and they have to take it from 2 to 5%. This is a huge amount of money that can come into crypto, and really it should be 20 to 30%. It probably will be by the end of this year. The Hedera conference is on. Okay. Swift community, karate combat, right? Crypto made in America, having a conference, nobody cares, right? What do we got? We got 1.2K likes. Let's give them a like. Nobody talking about Hedera. Nobody talking about layer ones. Nobody talking about Cardano. Nobody talking about Algorand. And you can trade gold on these things. No one talking about it. We went from everyone talking about it to no one talking about it. Everyone talked about it. It was a top. That really sucked. I really thought it was going to break out. Fine. Now no one's talking about it. Oh, that's a bottom. I was like, oh, the cycle's over. It's done. How could it be done? No one cares about anything. Last cycle was like, oh my God, we have to buy everything. It's going up forever. There's no price too high. People were like, oh, Bitcoin's definitely going to 200K next year. And it went below 100, and you haven't heard one single person other than me talking about numbers like 150. No one is talking about that. Matter of fact, I did a video that no one is talking about that, and no one watched the video. People have checked out. Hester Pierce says many of the meme coins out there probably do not have a home under current SEC set of regulations. Okay, so Hester is essentially telling you, feel free to continue to play in the casino and lose money. I wish Hester would say, yeah, you know what? We like meme coins, but, we don't want anybody getting hurt. Just say something that lets me believe that you have our interests at heart. But yeah, the SEC should not be touching meme coins, hence the popularity of meme coins. That's both good and bad, right? Playing in meme coins on Solana, if you want to take your shot, you take your shot. I'm taking my shot. I don't like the pump.fun rug thing, but I'm taking my shot. So it's not like I don't like it. Okay. Just don't do it at the expense of some sort of investing mentality. But the fact that people want to trade culture and the fact that the government doesn't want to touch it, that's why people like it. I'm not a Hester fan anymore, right? But people are in meme coins for a reason. And let them stay there. Just try to make it so that they don't lose all their money. Because there's going to come a time where you're going to want stuff other than meme coins, or they're going to merge memes and tech, which is what I'm in. 21 Shares proposes adding staking to the ETH network. Again, all these headlines, if they were coming out in a bull market, people would be going ballistic. MasterCard tokenized 30% of its transactions. It's over for these guys. MasterCard, Visa, it's over, right? If they don't get into stable coins or they don't get into Bitcoin or they don't get into Solana or whatever they got to get into, I don't know who is going to pay these clowns 3% of transaction fees when you can set up a QR code reader and pop money into Solana or pay with something, stable coins, whatever. I have no idea who's going to do that. Nobody wanted to take Bitcoin in El Salvador. Okay, well, that was because, you didn't have a currency crisis in El Salvador. There was no reason to do it. They forced you to do it. Now people may want to do it. So I have no idea what's going to happen to these characters. They're going to get disrupted. And you want to talk about a bunch of people who are like not sleeping at night? It would probably be them. Introducing the early agent offering, a new way for devs to raise capital and build loyal communities with zero lockups and innovative mechanisms. Powered by virtuals. And I know we got guys out here who are into Vader. Early agent offerings. The IAO boom, the initial agent offering boom, instead of the initial coin offering boom, the initial coin offering, from 2018. These machines are going to issue coins, right? And who knows? They may actually try and issue coins that have sustainable value, which brings me back to fart coin, right? It's like a machine is going to be like, okay, what's been funny for the entire history of humanity, which let's assume that's 8,000 years. I don't know. Let's assume it's 8,000 years. What has been funny for 8,000 years? Probably farting. So let's make fart coin. Was it a rug? I don't know. It's currently trading at like 700 million. So probably not. But that was a machine's attempt to make a sustainable, funny thing. So the machine is not necessarily thinking about hosing you, although I'm sure those machines are out there. Machines are going to make things that to the machine's mind make sense. So if you have coin offerings coming from machines, they may be of higher quality than the standard pump and dumps coming from VCs or pump.fun over the years. Just saying, right? If this gets rolling, it could get rolling on Solana. How many chains could it get rolling on? Like, everyone's imagination goes to zero when their bags are getting smashed, right? I get it. I understand. It's so painful. It's not that I don't get it, but it's just I got to get you off that, got to get your bags and your accountant, and I got to get you on this, right? Virtuals went to 5 billion. Now it's at 1 billion to 2 billion. Okay, maybe it sits there. Now the trade is, what did they issue on that? And if you don't understand it and you can't buy it, right? And you don't understand it, it's hard to buy, and you don't like it, it's probably going up. Most likely in these cases, people like them, but they either don't understand it or it's hard to buy. It's going up. Is it going up today? I don't know. Is it going up eventually? Yeah. I mean, do you know how long? Like, I sat there, I played with virtuals. I tried to trade it and stuff when it was like it's zero. Like, it was me, Brian, and like three other really smart guys following that Twitter account when it was like nothing, right? If you had held that, it would have been a 23,000x. There's another 23,000x out there. It's just that no one wants to look at it, either because no one understands it or everyone's too depressed. It was exactly the same thing in October of 2023. Deutsche Bank adds Solana to its digital custody. If JP Morgan can't make enough money and has to start laying people off, what do you think is going to happen at every other bank? If JP Morgan has to lay people off, what do you think is happening? Whether that's nefarious or it's not. I don't think they would do it if their business couldn't survive. Right? So what are these banks going to do? What are these companies going to do? They're going to turn to crypto. Why is it that everyone thinks that the US government is the only entity that must turn to crypto? Every entity must turn to crypto. So if you're a government, you have to buy crypto. If you're an institution, you have to buy crypto. And if you buy and eat eggs, you have to buy crypto. Who does that not cover? Like what? Martians? You know what I'm saying? Like, that covers everybody. Everybody. Okay. Antivirus, my thing. Okay. Trying to make some kind of bottom. Think as long as it holds 10 cents, I'm okay with it. Bigger picture, this is the bigger the base, the higher in the space, right? The AI agent of John McAfee, who has been vindicated on everything he ever thought, who was hunted down and killed like a dog inside of a jail, will speak again. This guy wrote the Declaration of Cryptocurrency Independence. You can carry me out. I will die on this hill. Okay. Now, that's my bag. Your bag, Ski Mask Dog. Okay. You know, every stream I kind of say the same thing. Ski Mask Dog hanging tough, right? I hope people make money in this. I kind of like the whole ski mask look. I get it. Again, building a base. You can't go up. It can't go down. It's like frozen. Just like the whole rest of this market. Now, speaking of frozen, right? You know, there's one thing I definitely want to bring to your attention, right? Just kind of a one chart market update, right? Here is Solana versus Bitcoin. Okay. So what you'll notice is obviously Solana has underperformed Bitcoin. So Solana BTC is down. Solana BTC is close to its discount zone, right? This little X sign that you can barely see is a sign of slowing downside momentum. This little triangle said the bottom in Solana BTC should have been, was on actually February 7th. And this is like a retest of that low. Luxalgo puts Solana at the bottom of a big expanding triangle formation. And you have people just completely giving up right here on Solana and moving to Bitcoin. Everyone's like packing it in. I don't want it. Take it away from me. Get it out of my face. It's unbelievable. I did this other thing for somebody the other day. Like I just did for laughs. I did because they asked. I did render versus Bitcoin. Okay. Am I going to get computer cooperation? I don't know. Doesn't look like, okay, there it is. Render versus Bitcoin. Will it come up? Yeah. Okay. So render versus Bitcoin at the discount zone, bottoming signals already in, and it just can't get going. But people have been packing it in on this and packing it in. They actually gave up on render in November. That might have been because of the token swap. But again, AI and crypto, I asked Perplexity about Brian Young coins, and one of the things it came up with was render. But this has just been thrown out of a bus. And people can't wait to sell it today. They can't, because everyone's bags are melting down in 2 and 3 and 4% increments, and no one can take it anymore. And that's when they capitulate. Because this Arthur Hayes talked about this, right? Arthur Hayes basically said, this is a concluding note, like people want to speculate because they need hope, but then it goes against them and they're like, oh my God, I have to protect this capital, right? That's where the fear comes from. They say, don't put any money in it. You can't afford to lose. Nobody can afford to lose any money. Who are you kidding? Right. You know what I'm saying? Like you can spout this generic stuff at me, but when the market starts moving and everything is happening, and it goes down, all I want to do is protect myself. It's understandable. This is why I'm trying to tell you, you got to take risks in the right areas of the market, right? You got to take risks where you believe in it. And this whole presentation today was about why you should believe in digital assets. Like why? Like, oh, my bags. Oh my God. Yeah. But look at the news. It's not just the price of eggs. It's everything. So these guys can hammer away and hammer away and hammer away, right? And they can sell the market because of algorithms or whatever. Oh, I forgot to do gold. Okay. So let's do gold for the encore, right? So here's gold, right? Futures. So this should have been a top. This should have been a top, except they bought the dip. They bought the dip. This was resistance, huge resistance at 29.50. Guess what? They touched it. It's not resistance anymore. Now, obviously at 29 something, there is still some resistance there. But no one's selling. So this should be a top. It would be great if it was, because that would be, I think, awesome for Bitcoin. But they're still buying the dip over here, just so you know. Now, of course, the pain point in crypto is that they're still selling the rallies. Right? What did I say yesterday? We cannot have a failed rally. It's terrible if we have a failed rally. Guess what we have? We have a rally and it failed. Okay? It's just terrible. Like I don't want to see this market go down anymore. Like if this is just bouncing back and forth this range, fine. But now that we've actually had a failed rally, now I'm like, oh my God, right? We got a full moon coming up, right? This is why I'm telling you to call your accountant. If you have stuff that's just not working out, unload. Because if you can buy Bitcoin at 90 something, or I don't know, 89 something or whatever, right? They've trashed the currency. So whatever they're doing today, tomorrow, next week, yes. Does it impact your bags? Yes. Are you leverage trading? Does that impact you? Yes. Of course it does, right? But should it change your mind about why you're here to begin with? No. We got a failed rally. All we can do is hope that it's not a train wreck, right? But NVIDIA earnings are coming out in, like 2 weeks, and most likely people are going to freak out, possibly in front of that, and they're looking for a place to hide. And I think crypto is a place they either will hide in advance, or once that's over, regardless of whether it's good or bad, people are going to go, you know what? Let's do crypto. Okay. That is it for today. I will see you tomorrow.